The judge was seconds away from finalizing my divorce when my 7-year-old daughter raised her tiny hand and whispered, "Your Honor, may I show you something my dad doesn't know about?" The courtroom chuckled at first. People shifted in their seats. Someone coughed. The judge, a woman who'd seen every kind of family disaster, actually smiled. For a second, nobody thought much of it, just a nervous little girl interrupting a custody hearing. But then Lily clutched that cracked pink tablet against her chest like it was the most important thing in the world, and my ex-wife Sarah went completely pale. That was the moment I realized something was terribly wrong. My name is Matt. I'm 34 years old, and until 6 months ago I thought I understood my life. I thought I understood my marriage. I thought I knew the woman I'd spent 12 years loving. Sarah and I met at a diner when we were young and broke. She used to tease me for showing up covered in drywall dust after 16-hour construction shifts. I married her 2 years later. When our daughter Lily was born, Sarah stayed home while I worked every overtime shift I could get. I missed holidays, missed birthdays, missed sleep. But every morning before work I still made Lily's lunch. Peanut butter sandwiches cut into little stars. Because once, when she was 4, she told me stars were lucky. That became our thing. I truly believed that was enough. Then Sarah started changing. At first it was small things. Short answers, cold shoulders, late nights with her book club. New perfume she claimed belonged to friends. Whenever I questioned it, she'd turn it around on me. "You're never home. You don't appreciate me. You're paranoid." So I tried harder. I cut back my hours. Took a smaller paycheck just to spend more time at home. Cooked dinner, helped with laundry. Tried to fix a marriage I didn't realize was already collapsing behind my back. Then one night, she sat across from me on our couch and calmly said she wanted a divorce. No emotion. No tears. Just cold finality. I asked if there was someone else. She looked me straight in the eyes and said no. And stupidly, I believed her. The divorce became ugly almost immediately. Sarah hired an expensive attorney who painted me as an unstable, angry father. Meanwhile, I ended up with a tired public defender who looked permanently exhausted. Every hearing felt like an execution. Sarah accused me of yelling at Lily, of being emotionally unsafe, of having anger issues because I once raised my voice during a tantrum. 1 moment, 10 seconds. That was all it took for them to build an entire version of me I barely recognized. And the worst part? Lily stopped acting like herself. During supervised visits, she barely talked. She'd sit quietly beside me, holding my arm like she was afraid to let go. One afternoon, I noticed a fading bruise on her wrist. When I asked about it, she hid it under her sleeve so fast it made my stomach turn. "I fell," she whispered, but she wouldn't look at me when she said it. That night, I couldn't sleep. Something inside me kept screaming that none of this was right. And if you've ever had a moment where your instincts told you something was deeply wrong, subscribe to the channel, because sometimes the people closest to us hide the darkest truths. I just didn't know yet how far Sarah was willing to go, or that my quiet little girl had already uncovered everything. Part 2. The weeks leading up to the final custody hearing felt like living inside a nightmare I couldn't wake up from. Every time I saw Lily, she looked a little smaller, a little quieter, like someone was slowly dimming the light inside her. I tried everything to help. I reported the bruise. I contacted child services myself. I even gave them screenshots, dates, names, every detail I could think of. But 3 weeks later, they closed the case. No evidence. That was it. Meanwhile, Sarah's lawyer kept attacking me in court like I was some kind of threat. They claimed I drank too much, claimed I frightened my daughter, claimed Lily felt unsafe around me. The terrifying part wasn't just hearing the lies. It was watching people believe them. One hearing at a time, I felt my own child being pulled away from me. And through all of it, Sarah barely even looked at me anymore. 12 years together, and suddenly I was nothing more than a problem she wanted erased. The night before the final hearing, I sat alone in my apartment staring at Lily's old drawings taped to my refrigerator. Stick figures, stars, crayon hearts. There was one picture she'd made years earlier of me holding her hand outside our house. Above my head she'd written, "My daddy keeps me safe." I broke down right there in the kitchen, because somewhere along the way, my little girl had stopped smiling like that, and I couldn't figure out why. The next morning I wore the only suit I owned, The same black suit from my father's funeral. I remember sitting in that courtroom feeling like my entire future depended on people who had already made up their minds about me. Sarah walked in looking flawless. Perfect hair, perfect makeup, cream-colored dress, like she was attending some fancy lunch instead of dismantling a family. Then I noticed Lily sitting quietly in the back beside the court guardian. And there it was again, that cracked pink tablet resting in her lap. At the time, it barely registered. I thought maybe it was just something comforting she carried around. I had no idea my 7-year-old daughter was about to do something that would change all our lives forever. The judge asked for final arguments. Sarah's attorney stood first. She spoke confidently, smoothly, like she'd rehearsed every word. She described me as emotionally unstable, said I created an unsafe environment, requested full custody with supervised visitation only. Listening to it felt unreal, like somebody had stolen my identity and replaced it with a monster. My lawyer started fumbling through papers beside me, trying to respond. Then suddenly, "Your Honor?" The entire courtroom turned. Lily was standing, her tiny hand trembling in the air. The guardian tried gently pulling her back down into the chair, but Lily shook her head. "Your Honor," she repeated louder this time, "can I show you something my dad doesn't know about?" A few people chuckled softly. The judge smiled politely. But Sarah didn't. Sarah froze. I watched the color drain from her face so fast it honestly scared me. "Lily, sit down," Sarah snapped under her breath. But Lily didn't move. She held up the tablet with both hands. "I recorded something," she whispered. The courtroom went quiet. The judge hesitated for a moment before motioning for the bailiff to bring the device forward. I remember hearing my own heartbeat. Sarah leaned frantically toward her attorney, whispering so fast I couldn't make out the words. Then the judge pressed play. At first her expression didn't change. She just watched silently. But after a few seconds, everything about her face hardened. Her jaw tightened. Her eyes narrowed. And when she finally looked up at Sarah, I saw pure disgust. "Play this on the monitor," the judge ordered. Sarah's attorney immediately stood up. "Your Honor, I object." "Sit down," the judge said sharply. The screen flickered on. The video was dark, shaky, pointed at the floor. But the audio changed everything. Sarah's voice came through first. "Cold." "Controlled. Remember what we practiced?" Then Lily's tiny voice answered, "Mommy, I don't want to lie." My stomach dropped. Sarah sighed impatiently in the recording. "It's not lying, it's protecting us." Then Lily asked something that made the entire courtroom go still. "Why is the bearded man here again?" A long silence followed. Then Sarah's voice lowered. "Don't worry about him, just tell the story." There was another pause, and then my little girl started crying, softly at first, before whispering the words they'd coached her to say about me. "Daddy scares me." I couldn't breathe. Nobody in that courtroom could. And if you've ever watched someone manipulate a child just to destroy another person, subscribe, because some stories deserve to be heard all the way through. The video ended. The room stayed silent. Not awkward silent. Funeral silent. The kind of silence that changes lives. And then the judge slowly removed her glasses and looked directly at Sarah. "Part 3. The judge's voice turned ice cold. "Mrs. Thompson, explain to this court why you should not be charged for manipulating a child and presenting false testimony." Sarah completely fell apart. Not the fake crying from earlier hearings. Real panic. Real fear. She tried blaming stress. Tried saying she was terrified of losing Lily. But the damage was already done. The judge granted me immediate full custody right there in the courtroom. Sarah would only receive supervised visitation if she completed counseling and parenting classes. Then came the part I'll never forget. The judge asked Lily one final question. "Sweetheart, who do you want to go home with today?" Lily didn't hesitate. She walked across that courtroom, climbed into the chair beside me and grabbed my hand tight. Then she looked up at the judge with tears in her eyes. "Mommy told me he isn't my real dad," she whispered. The room went completely still. She said my real dad is someone else, and that I should stop loving him. I felt my heart physically crack inside my chest, but Lily squeezed my hand harder. "Still," she said softly, "he stayed." Tears rolled down her cheeks now. "He made my lunches. He came to my school plays, he tucked me in every night. Then she looked directly at me. And real dads don't leave. Even the bailiff wiped his eyes. That night, Lily fell asleep in the passenger seat of my truck, holding that cracked pink tablet in her lap. And for the first time in months, I finally felt peace. Because the truth didn't save me out of revenge. It saved me because one little girl found the courage to speak. And if this story touched you in any way, subscribe to the channel. Because sometimes the strongest people in the world are the quiet ones. Nobody notices until they change everything.